If you're watching this video, it means that you're probably facing a Google Business Profile suspension and you're wondering how you can fix it. So I'm not going to waste much of your time. I'm going to quickly introduce myself, and then here is what we're going to be covering inside that video. We're going to be covering why suspensions happen, how to fix them properly, and how to prevent them from happening again. So why you should listen to me. My name is Dorian. I run an SEO company here in Perth, Western Australia. We operate across the whole Australia. We even have clients in Europe and in the US. And as part of the services that we offer Google Business Profile, Google Merchant Center, and Google Ads reinstatement services. So we've probably done more than 200 Google Business Profile reinstatements since 2025, more or less. So we have a lot of case studies and we have a lot of experience when it comes to fixing Google Business Profile. So you just received a Google Business Profile suspension email, or you probably have been suspended for a month and you don't know how to fix this. First, I want to tell you that you're not the only one. There are a lot of businesses facing this issue. Also, that it might sound unfair, but Google doesn't care. They do not care about you or your business. Trust me, I've been in this industry for over a decade. Google is one of the biggest company in the planet, and they do not like differentiate businesses. You could be a Fortune 500 company or a small tradie. They do not care. If you've been suspended, there's probably a reason why. It could be an accumulation of small issues that stack up, and at some point you've reached like a threshold and their AI systems or their systems have triggered a suspension, or you probably done something that they did not like, even a single thing, and you've triggered a suspension. So we're going to start by quickly addressing the type of suspensions, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. There are like two types of suspensions, which are like soft and hard suspensions. So a soft one is when you can still access your Google Business Profile and you can find it inside Google Maps, but you're going to have like limited access and you're not going to have access to all the features. If you're here and watching this video, you're probably facing what they call a hard suspension, which means that your Google Business Profile has completely vanished from Google Maps and you received a suspension email. So as I said, suspensions, they are rarely one mistake. There has to be like a suspension threshold somewhere that their AI systems have. Obviously, no one knows what the threshold or where the threshold is, if I can say, but this is usually a mix of or an addition of small issues like trust issues or compliancy issues in your account and in your profile that are at some point are going to be triggering the suspension. The same happens for Google Merchant Center and Google Ads most of the time. But it could be like one big mistake as well that has triggered a suspension. So what a suspension means, your profile becomes invisible, you lose control of the listing, and all your traffic vanishes. This is pretty obvious. So here is what you need to do. You should start by auditing three things. Like, you don't want to waste any time because the clock is ticking, and every single day your business is not online, your business profile, you're losing customers and leads. So there are like three layers that you need to audit: your Google Business Profile, which has been suspended, your website, if you have a website, because you're allowed to have a Google Business Profile with no websites, and your external presence. I call this your digital footprint. So these days, Google is mostly relying on automation and AI. They have AI in their systems and they look at the whole picture. Everything you do online is all about trust, and having inconsistencies or having like a messed up digital profile with like inconsistent data when it comes to your business name, your address, or your phone number can create issues. So you're going to want to look at all these three things, but obviously you need to focus on the Google Business Profile. So your Google business profile, it needs to match your real world business. Exactly. Like you should be using a business name that matches your real branding and your trading name. You should have a legitimate address or use a service area that is legitimate. You should have like categories that are reflecting your activity, and your phone number needs to be consistent everywhere. If you're a multi-location business, you also need to make sure that every single location has a different phone number. This could be a cause of suspensions. If your website tells a different story than your Google business profile, Google is crawling your website and they are trying to match the data between the two. And it's going to be an issue, and their systems are going to notice. So that's why you also want to be auditing the business. Inconsistency is usually one of the strongest negative signals. It's affecting trust that Google and but also AI systems like popular LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude place in your business. And this is going to create some issues at some point. So you want to make sure that you regularly audit your NAP, name, address, and phone number to make sure that it's consistent across your GBP, your website, and your digital footprint, which is a mix of like directories, web directories, what we call citations in the industry, social media profiles, or like as a general rule, like mentions of your business across the web. They could be affecting your performance and the trust that Google and AI systems place in your business. So here are the most common causes of suspension. I'm not going to go through all the causes because there could be a lot, but these are like the 9 ones that we see the most often, and I'm going to address all of them. So the first one is address issues. This is the most common issue that we see through all the accounts that we audit. And like Google has specific requirements when it comes to the type of address you can be using or where you could be operating your business from. And basically, this is what you want to remember. They do not allow PO boxes. Like under any circumstances, they allow PO boxes. That's something that they hate. So PO boxes are not acceptable. Virtual offices, most of the time, they are not going to be accepting virtual offices unless you have like a specific dedicated office and you have signage and you have your name on one of the office and potentially a lease as well. So you can prove them that you're leasing an office inside that virtual office company or location. Still, Google doesn't like that much, even though they accept it, if you can prove what I just said. But just like keep in mind, they do not like these because they tend not to perform that well inside Google Maps, just for the simple fact that you're sharing the address with a lot of other businesses, and this can potentially affect your performance in Google Maps. There's also going to be like a lot of like other ineligible locations, like co-working desks that are not staffed, residential addresses. You're allowed to use a residential address, so your home address, but you need to make sure that you hide the address and that you're set up as a service area business and not as a storefront. So just to show you with my own business profile, this is where the location and address settings are found. This is exactly what I'm doing for my business because I'm trading from home. So you need to make sure that you tick this box off. So you're hiding the address and only listing service areas. You could be a hybrid business. So you could be showing your address, but only if you have like an office inside your house, which has like branding and signage on the outside of the house, and only if you welcome clients into your office or home location, basically. Otherwise, you need to list service areas. That's the only option that they give you. So this is pretty much it for the address issues. The keyword stuffing is another big one. So if your name is Sharp and Sons Plumbing or Sharp and Sons Plumbing Pty Ltd or LLC if you're in the US, you're only allowed to use Sharp and Sons Plumbing, no Pty Ltd, no LLC. You should always remove these from the name. You're not allowed to stuff any other kind of keywords. Like, for example, my business is Search Scope. I should be using Search Scope and not like Search Scope SEO services or SEO Perf or anything like that. So what Google is going to look at, they're going to be looking at your record of registration for your business name. So in that case, Fantastic Garage Doors, they're only allowed to use Fantastic Garage Doors as their business name on their Google listing. So that's pretty much how it works. Of course, we all know that having the keyword in your business name or in your URL or domain name is very powerful in Google, and it gives you a bit of an edge. If you do so, that's totally fine. This is allowed, but you need to make sure that you register the business name with your keyword in it, with the ASIC or any kind of registration, depending on the country you are. And you need to make sure that you secure this business name and have the documents to prove it. So I always recommend to not abuse it. I would recommend to avoid using something like that. It sounds very spammy, and it's also too long. It's not the best when it comes to branding and marketing. But you could be using something like Sharp and Sons Plumbing Sydney, for example. So this would give you plumbing and Sydney, and this would give you a bit of an edge. So you always want to make sure that you're not violating their terms of services and their naming guidelines, but you also don't want to be stepping on someone else a trademark, and you want to make sure that you check the ABN lookup if you're an Australian business, because you don't want to have any legal issues in case someone has already registered the name with the keyword in it. So that's pretty much it for the keyword stuffing. Large edits. So we get a lot of clients that get suspended after doing a lot of edits in a short time frame on their Google business profile. So this is part of the threshold thing that we spoke about earlier. If you want to be doing a lot of edits, you want to make sure that you space them over a week or two, and you can just do a small edit, get back to your listing the next day or every other day, and just space out your edits, because it can trigger a suspension or a re-verification with their automated systems. So there are also spots that are more susceptible to trigger a review if you touch them. For example, the name, if you touch the name or the address, most of the time it's going to be instant suspension or re-verification. So you want to be very careful with these two, but also editing the category, the primary category, changing the URL or the phone number, these could create some issues as well. So keep that in mind. The fourth factor that we see a lot, and this is linked to the number one point, addresses, is service area misuse. So there are two type of issues that we see. The first one is what I covered before, showing your address. If you're operating from your house or from a residential address, you should not in any case do this unless you have a dedicated office with branding and signage on the outside of your house. In that case, it's totally fine. But for most of the other cases, you should always hide the address. The second issue that we see a lot is people that are listing service area locations that are too broad and way too far from their base of operation. So according to their terms of services, Google only allows you to list service area locations that are within a maximum of 2 hours driving distance from your base of operations. So we always recommend clients to be conservative and shoot for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half max, just to prevent issues. So no one knows exactly, and I don't pretend to know how Google is assessing this, but because they are Google, I guess they're kind of using Google Maps in some ways. So yeah, the example that I like to take is, for example, if you're a business and you're operating in Melbourne, Australia, you can see that what Google Maps and Google considers to be the metro area is quite broad. This is the whole area that you see that is dotted in red, and it's quite a large area. It goes down to the coast by the sea. So, for example, if you're a business and let's say you're operating in Craigieburn, it is your base of operations. If you list like a location such as Sorrento, I guess I'm assuming now is probably traffic time, peak traffic time in Melbourne. So as you can see, if you look at the right now, if you do a driving direction from Craigieburn to Sorrento, we are at 2 hours and 20 minutes. So you're way beyond the 2 hours maximum driving distance. So this is going to be an issue. If you look like, let's say at 10 a.m. in the morning outside of peak traffic time, you might be under the 2 hours. But this could be an issue if the engineer or their systems are checking at peak traffic time. So that's why I always advise to be more conservative and to avoid these issues. As a general rule as well for your business, it's much better for your performance in Google Maps if instead of listing just Perth, for example, in my case, I also list the target suburbs, the top suburbs that I'm going after, because having them listed on your profile, you're going to perform much better when someone does a search from Como, Inalu, or Subiaco, any of these suburbs. So it's always, you can add up to 20 service area locations. In my case, Perth is not as large as if you drive from the north to the south. It's you're still under 2 hours, even at peak traffic time, rush hour time. So I'm going to be fine. But if you're in Melbourne, it's best if you remove Melbourne, Victoria, for example, and instead be more granular and list all the top target suburbs. Like try to be smart about it and try to plan it. Do a few searches on Google Maps and try to maximize the coverage of the area. And you're gonna get the best performance inside of Google Maps. So this is a big issue when it comes to service areas. So be realistic, validate with real travel times, and make sure it's reflecting your operations. And always take your base of operations. If you're hiding the address, this is your residential address. This is the address that you listed inside Google Maps. So another issue that we see a lot, especially now that Google is using Gemini and their AI across the board, is weak trust signals. Weak trust signals, it's when someone registered a Google business profile and doesn't have a digital footprint pretty much. So no proper website, even if you're allowed to have a Google business profile and not link a website, it's best if you have a website because it is used by Google systems to validate your business, your activity, and your data. And as a general rule, like a limited online presence and no digital footprint, no socials, no web directory listings. This is affecting what we covered in the beginning of the video. This is adding to the lack of trust, and that's when you can trigger the threshold and you can start having issues. That's another big issue that we see. Another one is review manipulations. This is a big one, and we have a few cases every year where we cannot reinstate the client profiles, and half of the time it's because of Google review manipulations. So like fake reviews, or even like it could be like small things such as asking your relatives for fake reviews, for endorsements. If you do it from the wrong IP address or from the wrong location, Google has gotten way smarter lately, especially now that they are using AI, and they generally do not like when you fake reviews. And this could be a reason for not reinstating your profile. Like you have to start fresh. They don't want to hear about you anymore. So be very careful with this. You can fake reviews if you want, but in my opinion, it's you have to be very skilled, and you need to know what you're doing. It's totally doable when you're an expert and when you have the right like marketing expert by your side. But I would highly advise against doing it. This can create more damage than anything else. And there are many ways, if you're a legitimate business, to generate reviews. So this one, inconsistent information across the web, it's linked to what we've covered before. It's basically your NAP, name, address, and phone number. This is going to be affecting your performance as well inside Google Maps and inside the popular LLMs, AI systems. So this should be fixed, like it's a non-negotiable in 2026 and beyond. And there's also like things that are outside of your control. Like there's high risk industries, like industries that Google considers as spammy, such as locksmith, towing, legal, medical, garage doors, pest control. They are known spammy industries where businesses have been spamming Google for years. Web agencies as well have been spamming Google. So this can create issues, and Google is on the look, like their systems are a bit more aggressive if you're operating in one of these industries. And they also like automatically retrigger verifications and automatic suspensions every now and then on a certain percentage of businesses, just so that you have to resubmit your documents and they can make sure that you're still in operation and you are a legitimate business. The last one is user and competitors reports. This can be a problem. So these days, anyone can go online and suggest an edit. I think this is where you do it. I mean, you should have like a link on any GBP that you find online, or you look for the three dots at the top, and anyone can request or suggest edits or flag some informations as false or not consistent. And this is when, if you have like repeated requests and reports from various accounts across the web, especially if they come with trusted accounts, this could make you reach the threshold, and this could trigger a re-verification or worst, a suspension. So you always want to make sure that your information is up to date, your operating hours, your location, and anything like that, because your competitors and outsiders can definitely mess with your business on Google Maps. So what should you do when you face the suspension? So this is how you audit your listing. If this is your listing and it's suspended, you're only going to have access to this backend. So you should always audit the business name. You should make sure it's matching your record of registration. It has to be the same, like to the comma or to the dot, if I can say. Like if there's a space between your branding, the two words inside your branding, you need to have a space. It should be exactly the same. Your business categories, you should only have business categories that are super relevant to your activity. Like if you're a Pakistani restaurant, it's best if you use the option Pakistani restaurant and not restaurant. You can use both in that case, but you see what I mean. You should only have categories that are super relevant to your business, to your operations. The description, it's best if you have a description. It's best if it's not like super spammy, like those like ChatGPT generated descriptions with like 20,000 emojis. They're super spammy. Plus, they don't look very good. You should not claim that you're the best or use like over the board like statements like that. This is quite important. You need to make sure your phone number is the right phone number. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get leads or calls if you do so. It needs to match the website. So that's super important. Another one that we see a lot is the website field. Like my website, my business uses HTTPS and I don't have 3W. So the URL that I'm pasting inside the field is this one. You should not, if you have HTTPS, you should not be using HTTP. And if you don't have the 3W like my domain has, you should not be using these, for example. Google does not like when you have redirect chains from that website URL setting. So just make sure you go and you grab the actual URL that you're using and that you use this one. This is very important. Same with your social media profiles. They need to be the direct link to the social media profiles. Location and areas, we've covered this before in the previous steps. This is pretty much what you have to do. Remember, it's best to be granular and to list all the service area or the suburbs that you're covering and be realistic. Operating hours, they should match what you actually offer. Like I'm closing at 4:30 every day because I have to go pick up my kids. I'm not gonna leave it up to 6 or 7 p.m. if I'm not available for an hour, for example. So it should be realistic. Just keep in mind that when it comes to performance, the more you're open in the day, the more and the longer Google is going to show your listing inside Google Maps. So if your competitors are closing at 5, it might be smart if you can push up to 6 or 7 p.m. because you're going to be, as soon as they close, even if they outrank you inside Google Maps, they're going to be dropped off the maps results and your listing is going to be bumped up. So you could be getting more leads by doing so. So this is something you have to consider. I always advise to fill out the special hours and things like that. These are quite important, but mostly for their AI and for Google Maps. A pro tip that I can give you is it's always best when you're doing a reinstatement and when you're lodging appeals to go with a lower amount of information on this profile, on this backend. So what you can do is remove the description, just have like one business category, remove like the chat, remove the social media profiles. You can still re-add them once your business is reinstated. If you have like a large coverage and if you cover many suburbs, it's always best if you trim that list maybe down to like 3 or 5 of them. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's just like a pro tip. We generally notice that the success rate, especially from these two first automated appeals, is higher when you trim the fat inside your Google business profile, if I can say. So this is my tip for you. So then what you need to do is gather all your supporting documents. You should always have these documents ready, like on a Google Drive or inside a folder on your computer, just in case like some issue happens or like a re-verification happens, because you want to be ready to move fast. So the documents that Google wants to see, you should keep in mind it's best to stick to the documents that Google wants to see rather than provide like 15 different documents, because this tends to increase the level of inconsistencies. This is a major issue that we see in most of the case that we deal with. And it's best to only stick with a handful of documents, but make sure that the data is consistent and that this portrays the business in a legitimate way. So the documents that Google is always going to want to see is the business registration. So this is the following document that I showed you. If you're an Australian business, like they do not want to see, let me show you an example. They do not want to see a screenshot of the backend of the Acid Connect dashboard. They do not want to see like a specimen or like an extract, a document that is an extract. This is the exact document that they want to see. And they are very strict about it. This one. Make sure you download the PDF from the backend. Make sure it's a high quality document. And also my advice for you is do not like edit your documents with like Photoshop or any other online tool allowing you to do so, because Google is pretty smart and they have advanced system looking for like documents tampering and things like that. And this is going to create issues. So always make sure the documents are high quality and the right documents that they're looking for. The second one that they want to see is a utility bill. It could be power, water, internet invoice, or phone invoice. It has to be at the business address if you're a storefront, or it could be your house if you're like a service area business and operating from your house. And it has to be a recent one, like 60 to 90 days maximum. If you don't have any, or if you just got started, you can go to Aldi Mobile or Kohl's Mobile and just grab like a prepaid mobile plan that you put on your business name. You use all your business details and they're going to give you an invoice like very quick. And there is your utility bill that you can use. If you're a storefront, it's good to add a lease agreement. This is going to legitimate your address and the fact that you're a storefront. Also, the other type of documents that they like to see is a proof of signage and premises. So if you're a storefront, the best picture that you can provide Google is a picture that shows your street number on the front of your building, and that shows also your front door with your logo on it. This is the golden photo for Google, and you want to add this to your file. If you cannot add this, if you cannot like shoot such an image, if you're, let's say, if you're sharing the space with multiple businesses, you can take multiple images, multiple pictures, one of the street number. It's best if there's like a board showing that your business is within these premises. And then you take like other pictures of your storefront or your front door with your signage on it and your branding. And you can add like one or two images of the inside showing branding mostly. Be careful, you don't want to be showing sensitive data, so no documents and nothing like that. If you're a service area business, obviously you cannot show a storefront. You're not going to take pictures of your house. The best picture that you can provide Google is a picture of a branded vehicle. So let's say a branded ute or four-wheel drive with your logo on it, and you're showing your tools or your equipment. If you don't have a branded vehicle, you can show pictures of like branded brochures that you give to your customers. Eventually, you can give like a recent invoice, pictures of business cards, or like branded clothing. So that's what's going to help with your case. So these are the documents that they want to see. That's pretty much it. They do not want to see your accounting documents, your tax return documents. That's pretty much like you should only stick to what I said. So your first appeal is the most important. You want to make sure that when you press that button, you have everything ready, because during the first appeal, you have only 60 minutes to upload all the documents. So you want to make sure that you audit your listing and you fix the issues on your listing, on your website, and maybe on a bunch of web directories or on your socials. If you have like inconsistencies, this is the first step. You want to make sure that you gather all the documents and you want to lodge the appeal. I don't have any suspended profiles that I can deal with, but I will share the link in the description. But this is the link to their portal to perform the first appeal. So you always want to make sure that you go there, you confirm the account, you start the appeal, and you're going to pretty much reach like a form that looks like this, and it's going to ask you to provide the date at which the profile was suspended, making sure that the email address is the one that is managing the listing. Potentially ask for your business profile ID that you can find when you go. It's here, business profile settings, and it's inside advanced settings. So this is your business profile ID. So you always want to make sure that these are inside the form. And then you're going to have a button asking you to upload your documents. So you upload all your documents, make sure they are good quality. And then you should see a field where you can explain how you've addressed the suspension. So the way you do this is you explain what you found was the issue creating the suspension and how you've addressed this issue, what you fix. That's pretty much what all you need to do. Like, be factual and accurate, no emotions, no complaints, and make sure that you clearly explain what was incorrect and what has been corrected. Then you make sure you review everything and you can press the button. Once you press the button, you should receive an automated email, and it should be very fast. You might hear back from them within a couple of hours, or it could take up to 2 or 3 days, depending on how many suspensions their systems are dealing with. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If the suspension is lifted, then you're good. You're back into Google Maps. It might take a couple of days for everything to get back to normal, especially the reviews. Sometimes they do not come back like instantly. So please be patient. If your first appeal has been refused, you still have a second chance. So in that case, it means that something has been missed and that there is still like an underlying issue with your Google Business Profile. So in that case, you want to come up with stronger documentation. Maybe you didn't provide exactly the right documents, or maybe there were like inconsistencies in the names or the addresses that you provided. You want to provide like clearer explanations and maybe potentially add like third-party evidence. So this could help just like strengthen your case. So the way you do this is there's a second form to do the second appeal, which is called request additional review of a denied appeal form, which is very hard to find. I'm going to give you the link to that second form inside the description. So the way you do this second appeal is you have to click yes to the first two questions. Then you want to make sure that you give them the date at which the profile was first suspended. You want to make sure that the address that you put here is the Gmail that is controlling the listing, or it could be a Google Workspace email as well. You want to make sure that you give them the right business profile ID that might show up here on the side. This is a new feature. They might automatically pull your business ID case in that field, or automatically like pre-populate that field. Just make sure you double check just in case there's an issue. Then you have like 5 fields where you can upload your documents. So I always advise to put the ABN name registration, the business name registration first, then the utility bill. You put them by order of importance. So then the utility bill, and then it could be like your lease, or I forgot to say, but you can also add business licenses if you're operating within an industry that is that where you need to be licensed, like builders, for example, or lawyers. This is going to add to your case. So you can add these, and you can add your pictures as well. If you have more than 5 documents, it's fine. You can zip all of them into one zip document, and you can just upload one zip document, one zip file. The last field is the little explanation. Just keep in mind that you have a maximum of 1,000 characters, so you need to be precise and accurate. Like, don't beat around the bush. Just explain what you found was the issue, explain how you've addressed the issue, and kindly request a reinstatement. Once you press the submit button, you should receive an automated email, and then it could take up to from like a couple of hours to maybe 7 days. If it's approved, then you're back online and you will be good. If not, you should receive an email that looks like this one, and that talks about redress options and the European Economic Area. So if you get this email, it means you failed both appeals. The number between brackets inside the subject that looks like this is going to be your case ID. So in that case, you need to make sure you copy this case ID. This is going to be very important for the next step. So once you've done once you've missed the two first appeals, you're officially out of options, but you still have one last option, which is doing what we call a manual escalation. So in that case, it means that a deeper issue is at play. You still have like trust issues, you still have potentially document issues, and it's time to do a manual escalation to Google human staff and engineers. Sometimes you could you could have like all the right documents. I'm not gonna lie to you, like we've tried this before, like resubmitting the same exact document that we had submitting on the first appeal. For the second one, it failed, and then we submitted the same exact document during the manual escalation, and then it worked and it was approved. So no one knows how their systems are working. They are not perfect. Sometimes you have to go to that last stage to get your profile reinstated. It's just how it is with Google. So the way it works, the manual escalation, is that you need to make sure that you at least look into the case, you re-audit everything just to make sure that you haven't left any stone unturned. And then what you need to do is you need to prepare two things. You need to prepare your case ID number, and you also need to grab your business ID. This is a unique number that I already showed you. You need to grab this business ID from the back end of your suspended profile. And then what you're going to need to do is look for the Google Business Profile Help community, create an account or log into your Gmail, and you will find post a question option at the bottom. So here is what you need to do. You need to do a short summary of your issue, like my Google business profile is still suspended, for example, suspended after two failed appeals. And then you can explain your case. Do not share any pictures, do not share any private information inside that chat, because this is going to land on the Google Business Profile public forums, and Google has changed the way they work and operate lately, and they do not allow you to post public information on the forum because of spammers mostly. So there you want to explain how you went through the first failed appeals, what you've corrected, and you want to share your business ID, the unique business ID number that is tied to your suspended business profile, as well as your case ID number. This is how Google engineers are going to be able to find your case inside their systems. You also want to make sure that you explicitly tell them that you already went through two failed appeals. They do not allow you to skip one stage in the process and go directly to the manual escalation. This is the first thing that the Google Business Profile expert is going to ask you is, have you done two failed appeals so far? So then you pick the category. This is usually inside verified your business and get started. You click next, suspended business. You click this one. Next step, web. Next step, just like display a name, tweak that up, and then you can post. This is going to do a public post inside the Google Business Profile forum, like one of these, for example. And then one of their experts should look into your case. We might be able to find one, for example. Let me see if I can find a request. Well, these are all like official posts. But anyway, it's gonna create a post inside their forum. And then some Google business expert might look into your case. I cannot guarantee that this is going to work. And they might help you escalate your case with the Google engineers. This is not guaranteed. Some of them are very good and they will help you instantly and for free. But some of them, I'm not going to lie to you, are a total pain in the neck. They're going to ask you for, I don't know how many information. They're going to tell you to look into stuff you've already obviously looked into like 20 times. Super annoying, guys. And it could take a few weeks, a few months of back and forth, and it could lead to nothing. That's pretty much how it is. But it could work. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. You could fix the issue yourself if you have the time. That's totally doable. So then you might have to wait a couple of days if an expert does a manual escalation on your profile, and then Google will give you their final answer. They might reinstate the profile, or they might just say no. Whenever they say no, they just say no. They do not give any details. They do not give any justifications. It's their final word, and they just say no, basically go die. That's all they say, mostly for the fact that they do not want SEO agencies and people like us to be able to reverse engineer their systems, I guess. But it's just a no, and they will never let you know why. So it can be very frustrating. In that case, the only option you have is maybe try to recreate another profile. But if you've done something bad, and if you're like flagged internally, they're going to be able to match your business name, your ABN, and everything, and they might not let you recreate another one, or it could be working. You never know. So these are your only options. If they don't let you recreate a new one, it means you're going to have to come up fresh and like change your business name, potentially your location, your domain name. And yeah, so you're not flagged inside their systems. This is pretty much your only option sometimes. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You always want to make sure that once you're reinstated, you protect your profile for the long term to make sure this doesn't happen again. But again, it could happen automatically, just because their systems want to trigger a re-verification. You always want to make sure you follow these 5 habits to prevent future suspensions. Use consistent information across the web, your digital footprint, very important for performance as well. Minimize the edits. Always make sure that you spread your edits over like a week or two. This is going to help you avoid some issues. Follow the best naming practices, avoid stuffing keywords, and stay true to what your real business name is on your official documents. Make sure you use a legitimate address. Don't push your service area like too far outside of what's allowed. If you want to perform better in locations that are outside of your radius, you need to find a way to acquire a second location, a second office, or use like a friend's residential address, or like a contractor or a franchisee address in that other area, so you can create a second Google business profile. But don't push it too much. As I've shown you before, this could create some issues. Just make sure overall that your digital footprint is on point, and it's going to help you stay out of trouble, and it's going to help your performance. That's pretty much it for the video, guys. I've shown you everything you need to know on how to fix your Google Business Profile suspension. I hope you like this and you got plenty of value from the video. If you're facing some issues, or if you need help and you've been stuck for a month and you feel like you're getting nowhere, if you need to have this sorted like in the shortest amount of time, and if you need professionals to look into your case, please do not hesitate to reach out. My team and I like handle like hundreds of reinstatement cases every year. We're pretty good at it. We have a guarantee that you don't pay unless we fully reinstate the profile. We even fix it if it gets resuspended in a short amount of time following the reinstatement. And yeah, we're pretty experienced, so we can fix these issues for you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.